Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to kind of continue off of what I talked about in my first video, and I'm going to discuss 10 financial mistakes I've made in my 20s. So at this point in time, I'm 25 years old. So I haven't been in my 20s too long, but I'm starting to feel that way. Yeah, I've made a lot of mistakes, both financially and not financially. I can definitely blame college for a lot of the mistakes, but also I can blame, just being irresponsible with my money. So I feel like if I hadn't made a lot of these mistakes, I would have a lot more control of my spending. I would probably be more frugal than I am even now. I would feel more confident in my career and my career trajectory, and I probably wouldn't be in as much debt as I am now. So the first mistake I want to talk about is the fact that I went directly from high school to a four-year university, and I didn't even consider going to community college first. So obviously, I was finishing up school. I really wanted to be out on my own and be independent and kind of do my own thing. I got into the state school I wanted to get into, and that was pretty much it. I had my blinders on, and no one could have convinced me otherwise. The problem was, even though I was in a state school and I lived in that state, and so it was more affordable, it was still pretty outrageous as far as tuition and, room and board and stuff like that. So obviously with that, while I did have a great time and I really enjoyed myself, and a lot of my other mistakes that we don't talk about here happened, there's a lot of regret later on when I started having to make my student loan payments. And I realized my friends who were smarter than me that either went and secured scholarships most of the way through college, or they started at community college like I probably should have, they were pretty much debt-free as soon as they walked off with their degree. Meanwhile, myself and a lot of my other friends and people I know are still, I'm 25, I've been out of school for 3 years. I'm not even anywhere close to paying off what I owe. I've barely made a dent. I think it's really important for people to take a second, especially when you're getting up to your last couple years of high school and you're trying to figure out, what do I want to study? Where do I want to go to school? Those sort of things. You really have to take a step back and pause and maybe even talk to your parents or older siblings and ask for help and just say, hey, can somebody look at the financials with me? Is it feasible for me to even put myself in this position? So my second financial mistake I made was never saving any money from any of my summer jobs, ever. I must have worked 4 or 5 different jobs during the summers. I'd come home from the summer and summer break from college and just be bored, really. It's not like I needed money. I could have stayed around and just hung out with my parents or my siblings or something all summer and my friends and stuff. But, really you just kind of get restless because you go from being on the go all the time, doing all these things, being busy all the time when you're at school, and then coming home and everything just kind of grinds to a halt. So I get a summer job. What I also realized was that having money is feeling like you're free, like you feel like you have some freedom. So I'd take my paychecks and I'd go out with my friends and, I'd treat myself and buy some things I didn't need, clothes or a video game or something like that. And as quickly as I would make that money every week or every couple weeks, it was just gone. So then I'd get back to school and be like, okay, yeah, I'm back here and now I'm still broke. When I could have been saving at least a couple $1,000s through the summer and taking that money back with me and using it to actually get through school instead of having to call my parents the first weekend and asking for them to, let me borrow $100 so I can buy some random thing I needed for my room or something. So my third financial mistake I made was failing some classes in college. And it's funny because it kind of ties back with number 1, because I ended up having to go to community college to take these classes over again in the summer anyway. And I feel like it was kind of like bad karma because I was like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna go to community college, no. A lot of people have this like negative stigma of community college, like it's just lame, it's like high school 2.0, it's for people who aren't aren't doing much, they don't know what to do, or they just want to stick around at home. And it's really total opposite. There's so many people that are in the community college system that are working so much harder than you and doing so much more, and they just realize that that's the best choice for them, or that's the choice that makes the most sense to them at that time. So as an example, when I was studying business, I failed accounting. I failed it terribly. I'm really bad at math. It's really embarrassing for me. And, especially having to talk to my professor after I failed the course and basically ask him, okay, what do I do now that I failed? He's like,
well, you can wait and take it again in the fall.
Or you can get it over with and sign up at your community college and take it there. Took the class, actually learned it a lot better. Class was smaller, professor was nicer, honestly. But if you're not smart with things and you're kind of reckless with how you're spending your time at college, like I was, honestly, really wasn't doing very well with time management. You'll end up in the spot you don't want to be in anyway. So if you're thinking of the financial side of things, it still costs more money. So not only did I waste the money from that semester that I spent at university, that's like thousands of dollars that you're just saying goodbye to when you fail because you're not paying attention, or you're not going to class, or you're not asking people for help when you're struggling. So financial mistake number 4 was that I definitely spent too much time and way too much money trying to keep up with trends, just wasting money on a lot of unnecessary stuff. A big one for a lot of people is clothes. People will go through clothes, they'll wear stuff for a month or a couple months, and then a store will come out with a new line of clothes or some new, different colors or something like that of the same type of clothes, and they'll just ditch what they had before and buy the same thing. Obviously, if I'm listening as a mistake, it's because I've learned it the hard way. If you had spoken to me 6 years ago, I would have been like, I don't care. I'm just gonna keep buying these hoodies or keep buying these new shoes because everybody else is wearing them. Even high school now, I think, is a really influential time. People are easily influenced and easily distracted by what other people think of them. And so they get caught up in trying to keep up with everyone else. And that's just a quick way for you to just lose a lot of money. And another thing with that, not even talking about clothes, talking about stuff like Amazon. Oh my God, I must have been like the brokest person using Amazon Prime, because for some reason I was always ordering stuff, but I never had any money. So I don't even want to know how much I've spent on Amazon over the years. Now that I'm working and I have a career, I can budget for it. I will let stuff sit in my cart for weeks before buying it, because then I'll get to the point where it's like, do I really need it? Or, what's the benefit of me having this? If I really needed it, I would have bought it by now, or I would have found some sort of alternative. If you look at my apartment now, it's pretty empty. It's not really because I don't buy anything. It's because I'm intentional with what I do buy, and I'm able to save a lot more money just by thinking things through instead of impulse buying and filling my apartment with crap that I'm gonna just need to get rid of later anyway. So financial mistake number 5 is another college mistake I made. It was not deciding to stick with roommates all the way through college. I just had to have my own place at some point. I'm just thinking back at all these little times where I could have just stayed with my friends and had a great time anyway. It just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So what ended up happening was I lived on campus in dorms for 3 out of my 4 years in college, and that was great. I got to stay close with my friends. It felt like I did better with my schooling because I had like my friends and roommates around and they were studying and doing the right thing. But as soon as I moved out, everything just went out the window. I remember I actually had trouble finding an apartment, and so there was like all these signs that were telling me that I shouldn't get my own place, but I was so desperate to have my own little place, little studio apartment all to myself. And so I ended up getting the studio apartment, and it was dirty, it was tiny, like all I could fit in there was a TV, a desk, and a futon. People next door and all around me, they smoked weed all the time, so it smelled like weed constantly. I had someone that lived above me. They must have been lifting weights every morning at 6 a.m. because I'd get woken up at the same time every morning. I don't know, maybe he was practicing his bowling arm or something, because it was just ridiculous. So I didn't make the best choice with that, and in the end I ended up spending so much more money just because I had to get my own place. So I needed my own furniture, my own groceries, like everything I had to buy was just for myself. So financial mistake number 6, this is something I made right out of college, I bought a pretty much new car. I finished school in 2016, and early 2017, I bought a car that was released in like late 2015. So it was only about a year and a few months old when I bought it. It was like a little Volkswagen Golf. I still have this car now, but I don't even have it here in the Bay Area. I couldn't afford to move it from the East Coast out here, so I just have it home, and my mom actually drives the car. I moved back home with my parents. It took me about 8 months to find a job in my field. And so when I finally did find a job, I was so excited to have a good substantial paycheck. So I started thinking like, how am I gonna do this commute every day? The truck that I was driving was falling apart. I definitely needed to figure out a plan to get something else moving, but I did not need to buy a pretty much new car. I could have just bought a used Toyota or something, with relatively low mileage, paid about the same, but also I would have gotten a really reliable car. All my friends who drive Hondas and Toyotas, they absolutely love their cars. And if they do buy new cars, they buy the same damn car. So it's like stuff like that I wasn't paying attention to back then. And I was just so into having a car that I wanted, that looked the way I wanted it to look. And now here I am, I don't even drive the car. Still paying the car note on it. I kind of split it between my mom and I because she drives it a lot of the time. I really don't have much to show for it except a car note and a payment that's due every month. So we're on financial mistake number 7. Number 7 is I moved to a new city and I immediately wanted to rent the most expensive apartment I could afford. Just going through this list right now is making me cringe so bad. I'm embarrassed for myself. I had to go through this many dumb mistakes to get here. My job transferred me from Virginia, from the DC area, to Chicago. I could afford a decent place, especially a studio or something like that on my own. But as soon as I moved there, I wanted the nicest apartment I could afford that was gonna get me to work quickly. It was gonna be close to downtown. It was gonna be kind of in action and everything. Wanted to be able to walk out of my house and into a bar in less than 2 minutes. That's what I wanted. So that's what I got for my first apartment. It didn't work out well. It was a waste of money. It actually took me much longer to get to work than it did in my next place that I moved that was all the way on the other side of the city. Mistake number 8 was that I spent pretty much all of the money I earned as soon as I got it during my first professional year. The car, the expensive apartment, being in Chicago in a huge metropolitan area, there's a lot of stuff to do there, but also it kind of opened up a lot of areas for me to be able to travel to easily. I spent a lot of money on traveling. I did not budget for any of that. As soon as I had any time off of work, I was already planning what I was gonna do. If it was something random that came about, I would just book it and go. And it was fun. It was great to be spontaneous, but then I get home and be like, what the hell? Like, I don't have any money. I've charged everything on my card. It was just all this stuff that kind of snowballed because I wasn't paying attention to that stuff. That's me being dumb. And so that actually rolls into mistake number 9 was I pretty much exclusively charged everything to credit when I was traveling. This mistake has put me in the worst position. Like, I think this is by far the worst mistake that I've made. Apart from the community college, just because of the amount of money, this is pretty much on the same level, unfortunately. I've spent a lot of money traveling and I've gone a lot of places, which has been amazing. But as a result, I am in credit card debt because I wasn't responsible. I wasn't budgeting. I wasn't saving any cash. I wasn't using that cash that I did save for other things. I didn't use that on the right stuff. And so I charged everything to credit cards. I charged my airfare, charged hotels or Airbnbs, and it just added up. And now I'm in a position where I have to pay off my credit card debt before I can even worry about anything else because the interest rates on my cards are so high. It's just, it's ridiculous. I'm done. But yeah, I'm telling you this stuff so that you don't make the same mistakes, or at least you can consider not looking dumb like I do. All right, so to wrap this up, financial mistake number 10 is that I started saving for retirement a little bit later. nowadays in 2020, where we're sitting right now, there's so many different ways that you can earn income and make a living and even retire from those livings. But for me, I've always wanted to put myself in a similar position to retire early. And one thing that I regret, that I consider a financial mistake, is not realizing that I need to be saving. There's a lot of things that I should have been doing to set myself up in the right position to begin to save for retirement, and I just didn't realize that any of that stuff applied to me until just a couple years ago, even though I've been working for almost 4 years now. So if you think about stuff like compound interest, which is a huge thing people talk about when they talk about saving money, it's that idea of starting off initially and just allowing time to do your work for you. So, let's say you put $1,000 in a savings account and you left it alone for 30 years. It's not going to be $1,000 when you go and pull it out 30 years from now. It's going to be a lot more money than that, because you've let interest build on it, and that interest basically is money that's given to you just for holding your money in that account, and then it keeps growing from there. Whereas you did that same thing 5 years later on, yeah, you'd still have a good sum of money for those 25 years that you had it sitting in that account, but it's definitely not going to be as much as you did 30 years ago. So the sooner you start, the better it is. And that's really a topic I wish somebody had stressed to me a lot sooner, because I realized the amount of money that I'm missing out on just by not having money in any savings accounts or any retirement related accounts as soon as I could. Luckily, it's never too late to start saving for retirement. It's never too late to start wanting to take over and reevaluate how you're handling your finances. But the best decision really is take some time today, like now, and consider your options and take a look at your accounts and see what you can do to make positive changes. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.